Buenos dias, Andrew. I am delighted to have you here with us at Business Spotlights. And Andrew is the managing director of
Caltech lifts.
And what do you do, Andrew?
We supply, install, maintain passenger lifts, disabled access lifts and stair lifts across Scotland.
Brilliant. Now, when you were at school, is this what you wanted to do? Were you thinking of being an entrepreneur or an actor or an accountant? How did you...
I guess I did always have a thought of getting involved in the family business because I grew up around Caltech. So, my dad set up the company in 1978. I was born in 1982. So, wow. I've grown up around a lift engineering business. So back when I was kind of my younger days, I was quite involved rather than going out and doing traditional paper round, with my friends, seeing them going out in the cold and the wet and delivering the papers. I was helping my dad out with just some basic stuff, and the basic stuff was I was writing out checks and I would stamp suppliers' invoices they're paid, and I would file that away, and I was doing that all kind of from home, or somebody'd go down to his office. The other thing I would do was there was this amazing book called Glenigan's, which was fairly thick, a few yellow pages sort of thick, and that had all the leads for buildings that were getting that had gone through kind of building warrants across Scotland, and within that you were looking for the word lift. And I would highlight it with a highlighter, and that was like basically
build the database.
Yeah, it was a warm lead for my dad. And the funny thing is, decades later, we've recently signed up to Glenigan's using it again, but the digital format. We don't have the 1,000-page
yes.
book anymore. So
yes.
I was helping my dad from a young age, and he'd pay me because it was helpful work. So yeah, I was, I guess, intrigued by watching my dad in the kind of business. My younger brother left school at 16 and went straight into lift engineering apprenticeship. Now I kind of could see me getting involved in the family business, but I did want to go out there and try and bring something else to the table. So I went off to university and Dundee University and did economics for a year.
Economics, same as me. Yeah.
Yes, it was quite interesting. Yeah, very similar there. So I knew to get a bit of business sort of acumen and things, and maybe something to bring to the table. Did various things before joining Caltech.
Wow! And how do you end up being the managing director? Did you start? I mean, you were the son of the boss.
Yeah. So that's always because, as I say, Fraser, my brother, has only ever known Caltech since he was 16. I think he was at Burger King for a little time before that. So after doing economics, and then I kind of did a sabbatical, and got voted in as a sports union president at Dundee University, which was a lot of learnings in 1 year. You're effectively running an organisation with hundreds of people, 42 sports clubs. You're answerable to university core. You're giving presentations. You're trying to increase student sport. So it was almost, in some ways, you were like a business. You were in charge of budgets and things. It was almost like a 12-month kind of fast track. Here's how to run an organisation or a business. So I did that for a year. Then I took myself away travelling for a year, and I went up the east coast of America. I went over to Australia for a year. I've got a lot of family. My dad's older brother emigrated out to Australia many years ago, so he's got a big family out there, a lot of cousins and things. So I spent a year out there, and then I came back and I joined a graduate training programme with White Mackay, the whiskey maker.
Okay.
So that was almost too much fun. There was about 15 of us all in this graduate training programme, real extroverts. We're just, even to today, we're all kind of close friends.
Wow.
They all stay very well, especially the rest of the team. They all ended up being best men at each other's weddings. But it's a real sociable job, as you can imagine. I actually didn't like whiskey when I first started, and it was only through the trainings of, we actually get taught and you're going through proper whiskey tastings, you start appreciating the
Yes,
sort of the art that goes into making a fine whiskey, and I quite like it now. But that was that was a lot of fun. I didn't know if my liver could quite put up with it for much longer. So during that year, I was also meeting up with my dad had brought in a business consultant through Scottish Enterprise.
Okay.
So it was all kind of free, and
Yes.
my dad liked things like that.
Yes.
So a guy called Charles Hunter, and Charles was like a highly experienced business chap. And I used to come into these meetings just to kind of help, discuss about business development, where Caltech was going. And we'd have these great meetings, and Charles was really inspirational. He was just like loads of energy, huge amount of experience. Dad was getting a lot from it. And he just turned around to me and went, Andrew, when are you going to leave White Mackay and just come along and implement this stuff you're talking about? And it was just at that moment I went, okay, I think it's time.
Let's go for
So
it.
yeah, I handed in my notice, White Mackay, and I started off, I wanted to make sure I was coming in, the lowest point. I took I took a salary drop from White Mackay to working in business development. I think we called myself a business development executive.
Yes.
That was the same title I had at White Mackay. Handed back my lovely Volkswagen Jetta, which was brand new, and I just took a 15-year-old Ford, and I just started off from that level. And
Why do you do that?
well, I guess there was a kind of what will people think of me coming in at anything higher. I just kind of felt I needed to prove myself.
To earn the respect of everybody.
Yeah, although I could say, oh, I've been involved in it in the background
Yes.
when I was 10 years old, but
Yeah.
the guys and the girls in the business don't really know that.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to be, treated any different. I said, look, I've always
Work
been
my
that
way
kind of,
up,
I'm always
yeah.
that determined kind of, in anything I try and throw.
I'm confident that
life.
you're gonna make your way.
Yeah, absolutely. But I will put, now obviously this is family business, so you think, but anything I did from a young age, when I was 15 working in farm foods, I'd make sure I was the best shelf packer there. I would be the customer service. I just put my heart and soul into anything I do. So it didn't matter what I was doing. I just gave it my all.
Yes.
And I'm just wired that way. I will just I'm quite determined. So I knew I'll prove some points here, and because it's quite a complicated industry, lift engines, a lot of legislation,
Yes.
all the regulations, everything applied. It's business is business, but learning all the technical
Yes.
aspects. And I was doing sales, so I had to kind of learn all the kind of lift regs and things, and I just really went from there to it was about 6 months, and there was a kind of there was a general manager in, and really it was soon quite apparent that he was taking, I don't know if I can swear on the podcast, so I don't know if you can,
We can
but
edit
he was,
it out.
you can delete it out. Anyway, he was taking the mick, I'll say. And my dad had really been working on the stair lift side of the business, so in people's houses, the domestic sort of stair lifts, and this general manager was kind of running the lift side. And when I started kind of really questioning everything, like, okay, well, I'll come out to site meetings with you, he was always putting me off. Oh, you just stay there. And really found out he was probably working 50% of the time. And it soon came to that sort of conclusion, and he actually retired early because I think
You could see it coming.
yeah, could see it coming. He really was, for the wage he was taking. He made all his own decisions, and Dad just kind of let him almost run. It was almost like running his own business, but he just did what he wanted. So he quickly kind of retired, which kind of threw me in the deep end a bit, because I had to then go into a sort of kind of project manager role. I managed installation projects, but Dan had some good engineers working for him, a good technical manager, and I learned a lot from them. And then kind of went from that to general manager, and then general manager to managing director when my dad looked to retire.
So how long do you spend as business development, then general manager, and then managing director?
Yeah, I was probably business development executive, if you like, for about 6 to maybe 9 months before the general manager kind of was.
Okay, so it was quite quick.
It was very quick, and really throwing the deep end, because.
How old were you when you were general manager?
Well, I would have been say 24 going out, so probably I was 25 when I was project manager, and I still remember it because I've definitely lost far lost a lot of hair over the last years, greyer beard. I remember going into taking over from the general manager who was running the installation projects out on site. I was then having to be this project manager, changed my title, my email signature, business cards, and I was going along to these site meetings.
Do you have any training?
No, not at that point. I really had to wing it. Really winging. That was the art of winging. We had a really good technical manager, and I brought him along to every meeting because he was technically good. He was still learning lift rigs and stuff because he'd just been kind of on the tools. And about managing a project. But I was having to go into these site meetings with like a construction team, senior project managers, quantity surveyors, and I could tell they were looking. I still remember going into some of these meetings. They were looking at me, going, "Who's this baby-faced lift guy coming in?" And I am trying to win, going, they're asking, kind of going. It even brings back memories, going, "Wow, I felt really out of my comfort zone."
Is that when you decided to grow a beard?
Yeah, grow a beard. Like, how can I just make myself look a bit older? I thought I don't need to do that anymore. It's just like that's just the greys are real and the receding hair is real. Yes. But it's amazing how people do judge you on. I could just tell, and even just sometimes the things they would say. But I'm a fairly quick learner in these things, and I was, and the big if you're passionate about something, it's amazing. How much you learn. Correct. And I refer that back to like doing my economics degree. I really didn't learn that much from that 4 years. I was kind of, I scraped through. I got my 2-2, and and I think my wife would say, "Oh, you got your DOSer 2-2," because I was kind of just, if I'd maybe applied myself and studied more I maybe would have got a 2-1, but I had a good time at university. But it comes back to, did I really enjoy it? I liked certain aspects of it, but I wasn't passionate about it, so I found it hard to retain the information. Yes. The lift industry, I just started kind of going, because I can start questioning myself, going, have I got a bad memory? Can I not retain that information? Well, actually, you come back to your passion. If you're passionate about it, you just then start, and you go, well, how come I can regurgitate these lift regs now? Yes. And the lift regulations, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages, various different documents. And you have to start knowing that if you're managing the projects. So that was quite interesting. I started absorbing the information and just trying to learn as much as I can and trying to look confident in these meetings.
That's a great lesson to us all, really. When you are passionate about something, you retain things. Your memory gets better, right?
Absolutely. So I'm a big, because I can beat myself up. And myself and my brothers, my older brother will still say he's got a bad memory. And I go, "Steve, you did biochemistry at Dundee, you did a PhD in yeast genetics, you did an MBA at Oxford. You're the smart one." And he goes, "I've got a terrible memory, I can't retain anything." I go, he was passionate about all these things. And I went, "Well, you must do it." We always have that like internal sort of laugh going, "Oh," and you beat yourself and go, "I've got a bad memory." You go, "Well, maybe it's just you're not passionate about that thing."
Yeah. So then, how many years were you as general manager of the business?
That was probably about another 5 years. 5 years. Yeah, because I'm 42 and I'm reversing back. My dad retired 12 years ago, so I kind of took over that MD title.
So when your dad retired, then he asked you to become the MD.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? Were you confident in that?
Yeah, I was at that point because I felt I'd quite a bit of built up knowledge and things by then. I even felt as a general manager I was kind of running a lot of parts of the business anyway, but I was only 30.
Yes.
But even that 5 years was quite an accelerated sort of learning curve.
So you mentioned when we were talking about learning and reading earlier before the interview that you did a lot of miles in the car. So your preferred mode of learning was listening to books?
Yeah, podcasts and books. Yeah.
Okay. And you mentioned before, there are so many things. You hear so many silver bullets and golden nuggets, and no time in the day to implement everything, and you come to the point of being overwhelmed, you know.
Absolutely.
So how do you, tell us a little bit about your learning.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm a big believer in learning, kind of, you know, life being a sponge, and you're just trying to absorb as much information, and it is scary how much is out there, and it is, I feel it's every which way you go, there's just information, and I am bad for sometimes looking for the shiny thing, thinking there's a holy grail of answers out there, you know, and I start listening to an audiobook or a podcast, and I jump, you know, and I'll jump to the next one, because that might have all my answers. And then it's really having that self-awareness of going, stop, listen to what, if that is igniting something there, follow that path, get hold of it, and maybe listen to that podcast episode again. So now I have it on my OneNote, and you know, as you mentioned, I do a lot of driving, so I'm hoping in some way, sometimes it's going in subconsciously as well, because you're concentrating on the road, but you're listening in. And when I stop driving, I'll put into my OneNote, my kind of folder structure in there, and I'll go, listen to episode 154 of that, you know, Secret Leaders or something. I'll type that when I well, I could do it, but when I stop driving, I'll go, that was a good episode, I need to listen to that again, maybe listen to it when I'm not driving, and maybe I'm unloading the dishwasher or something, but I've got a notebook there. So I am one for, I hate, I guess it's, I say this, but inefficiency. Like if I'm gardening, or if I'm walking the dog, I need to be, I'm thinking, I could be learning here while doing something that is a fairly easy task to be doing. Unloading a dishwasher. I'll put my headphones in and I'm listening to something.
Yeah, and I've been obsessed with efficiency. That's...
Yeah, and I'm not, I mean, I say I'm obsessed with like that, with, you know, you and I were discussing that about, you know, time is your currency. And I need to get better on being more efficient, because you know, my time management, my kind of task management, I'm a bit of a scattergun approach, because I just feel like there's so much. I definitely, if we refer to anything in traction, but you know, I'm the visionary, I'm not necessarily the implementer and the person joining up the dots.
It's interesting. I mean, we were talking about the EOS and the book of Traction, which is, by the way, the second book that changed my life, and it's so implementable. And you, as a visionary, in the book of Traction, for those of you who haven't read it, it talks about the visionary and the integrator. And the visionary is the guy who is 30,000 feet above the ground, the guy with the big ideas. You come to a meeting with 20 ideas, and the integrator says, "Oh, here we go again." So you need to be the visionary needs to be surrounded by people who can implement the vision. And the visionary in the integrator box feels trapped and frustrated. And you're not doing a service to anybody by being in that box, by the way.
And I am in that box with these two hats on just now.
You're a bottleneck.
It is absolutely right.
And that's costing you a fortune, by the way.
It probably is. It probably is. And that's what's interesting when you say, I mean, you know, the book Traction is the hardest hitting sort of most practical guide I've seen and read and looked at, and it's the one that if I ever talk about I'm chasing the holy grail of information on the silver bullet, it's the one that I keep going back to and going, it's so relevant, it's so relatable, it connects, just you know.
I would dare say that book is the platform with the tools, and when you keep learning other things, you can implement them with that methodology. You harness. It's a book with tools that help you harness everything together.
And I think I've got to have the trust to push that forward, because just now, to say where's the bottleneck, it's because I'm trying to be this run the day-to-day stuff and be, because naturally I'm more of a visionary. I've got the energy, I've got the sort of, can do that, but the follow-up, the joining the dots, the glue, whatever you want to call it.
They probably don't like you doing the day-to-day.
No,
they
don't.
Getting on their way.
They'll often say you're terrible at delegating,
so you go,
and why are you doing that?
Back up 30,000 feet, just look where the business needs to go, and we'll, you know, no, definitely. That's wonderful. So, how you have family in the business?
So
what are the family dynamics?
So Fraser, as well as he's been only known Caltech since he was 16. So how it works quite well with the two of us is that Fraser's practical. He's a good lift engineer.
Down to earth.
Yeah, and he's been doing that since he was 16. So he was out on the tools, fixing lifts, installing lifts, and he was in all the department. He would be fixing lifts, he'd be installing the lift, he was on call, he was installing stair lifts. Now, because we're quite a bit bigger, these are kind of in departments now. We have the installation department,
Yes.
we have the maintenance department, we have the stair lift department. But back then it was a lot smaller, so he had to do everything. So we're quite a close-knit family.
Only two family members.
Only two family members are in it. My younger sister's a teacher in Edinburgh, and my older brother lives out in Berlin, and he's kind of involved in sort of fintech and things and startups, and he's got a business over there, to kind of data involvement now. And my dad is fully retired, I think, actually.
Does he play golf?
Does he play golf? No. His main interest is metal detecting.
Wow.
He absolutely loves metal.
Really?
Yeah, he's got his whole treasure book and everything.
How
Like,
interesting.
yeah, if you have to get that off his dying grip, you know, when he's got his treasure book, all the secrets of where he's found. He's found some interesting things over the years. So that's his
Interesting
passion.
shiny objects.
Yes, chasing that. But he
Okay. He's not involved at
all. No.
As an
Kind of.
advisor, yes.
I say this to Dad jokingly, and if he was a bit, when he retired, he was wheel spinning. See ya. And I guess when I speak to other family businesses, they go, "Oh, so your dad doesn't get involved? Like he doesn't come in and." You're so lucky, because I think a lot of people feel when they take over the next
he
generation.
Be very proud that his children have kind of taken the business forward.
Yeah, absolutely, and you know, he still asks questions. He's still passionate about Caltech. He'll still how's things going and things. I maybe don't tell him all the stresses and the aches and pains of running the business, because you know he's retired now. You don't need to hear this.
And he's been there. So.
Yeah. So no, it works quite well. And so Fraser's now a director, he's as well. He's obviously a shareholder, and he's come off the tool, so he will do a lot of the kind of pricing work.
Okay.
He'll also do a bit kind of technical project management, and sometimes he still rolls his sleeves up and
whenever
he has to go out and get.
What are the aspirations for the business? Say 5 years from now, where do you see the business?
Well, I mean,
are you expanding geographically? At the moment, you are Scotland.
Yeah, we're just Scotland. We touch over the border occasionally. But I mean, look, we're turning over about 4 million a year just now. So I'd hope in the next 5 years we'll be looking closer to 7 million, and we need to be doing more in the Central Belt. I'd like to eventually see us with a smaller regional office in Glasgow and really push into, as I say, we've got quite a good portfolio in there, but there's definitely opportunities for growth there. And probably, again, you do a bit more in the Central Belt, it can get into kind of Newcastle areas as well. So, I think that's... from Dundee, I mean, we're so close to Aberdeen. We've got a lot of work up there. But yeah, we could be expanding.
Good location, to reach out,
Queen Central.
Brilliant. So, if what has been one of your biggest challenges in your entrepreneurial journey you had to face?
I would say the biggest challenge we have, and it's probably more just specific to our business really, and it's the skills gap out in the field. So actually probably a bit of a bottleneck of our growth is trying to fill that void of getting experienced lift engineers out there.
That's across all the industries.
It is so difficult because, and we saw it happen. I can remember even the feeling just before just after the financial crash. A lot of the multinationals you're almost relying on who are investing more money into their apprenticeship programs. Everybody kind of that slowed down. Everybody was kind of stopping that, and so you could see it happening there. Go, wow, what's going to happen when workforce starts retiring and there's not so many apprentices? And that's hitting now. That's been hitting the past few years. Massive skills gap in qualified, experienced lift engineers.
Yes.
However, we have managed to overcome that. It's still a constant challenge, but we were quite fortunate locally here in Dundee when Michelin Tyre Factory closed down, which was a massive blow to Dundee because it was 800-900 skilled jobs that went. It was, you know, the biggest employer in Dundee. They were an amazing organisation in terms of a lot of these guys and girls came in at 16 and the training in world class, and they trained them up and they were there 20-25 years. When that closed down, I mean, we have 10-12 ex-Michelin engineers working for us. Actually, before I was in here with you, I was just interviewing another one.
Yes.
Who's actually coming from another factory that's unfortunately closing down locally. But he's ex-Michelin as well. And that the transferable skills from these guys, the mechanical, electrical, fault finding machinery to lifts. Wow, that's been.
How long does it take to train somebody? If you get an apprentice, you know, from scratch,
you
say, we cannot find the people we want, so you're gonna, you know, build your academy, if you like, of young people. How long will it take them to?
I mean, the apprenticeship is 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah, but that is a lot of that is on the job training. Now, when I actually think back at the Michelin training structure, they had an organisation, XM Services. The way it was so well structured, and as I say, it's generally world-class engineering of what they taught them in that classroom and practical environment are some of the best engineers, and the skill set that they bring to lift engineering is unbelievable. Just now with apprenticeship, really for lifts, they're basically out with experienced engineers learning on the job. You will of course learn things like that, but sometimes wonder if they're missing a bit more kind of. They'll go to college, they'll do an HNC, you're hoping in electrical engineering or whatever, but it's just maybe a bit more kind of theory, a bit more kind of workshop. Don't think we're there yet. We are actually investing in a mezzanine floor in our warehouse and a demo lift that hopefully the start of next year, the early half of next year, we're going to have this installed. That's going to be good. We're going to have a controlled environment where we're not on a client's property, you know, with the apprentices there. Apprentices can be in there. We can be putting faults onto the lift, really getting that kind of controlled environment. So I'm excited to see how that'll go with the training.
I love the fact that you use the word invest.
Yes. That is definitely an investment.
Brilliant. Book, would you like to share, you know, what book have you read that you can share with the audience?
I have to say it comes down to Traction, Gino Wickman. It's the one book I just keep going back to. It just the practical tips. It's the type of book you could just pick up. It is so relatable to a business owner. It doesn't matter, I think, whatever business you had, it relates to it. And it's the one that just kind of ignites that sort of excitement. Anytime I read it, I go, why am I not? And I admit I have not implemented. I have taken some bits out of it, but I should really be seeing it all the way through. And that's again probably me as the visionary. I know that's probably the way to do it. And I need the implementer, the person joining up the dots behind me going, right, you want me to do that? I'll do it. You know, I've got the idea. I think that is the right way. Yes, I'll go back up 30,000 feet. And,
brilliant. If you could spend a day in the life of, who is that person would be so interesting to spend a day of, either living or from the past.
Entrepreneur. I mean, I'm trying to think like business wise. I mean, you know, your typical guys I like and I think are inspirational, and whether that's Warren Buffett, Richard Branson, both kind of guys I'd like to read listen to any interviews with them, read their books. There's a young guy that I really like a lot of his business success story is the guy Ben Francis from Gymshark.
Okay. I
really like his sort of. He's a young guy. He's built this business up from nothing to a huge valuation, and I really quite like a lot of his kind of core values. I don't know, again, could it be swearing if I said one of them, but it's one that we do use internally here.
Which one?
He has a thing. I've managed to rephrase it slightly, but it is he says quite simply, "Don't be a dick," and it's such a powerful phrase, because I think if you say,
Yes.
"Oh, be nice, be
Yes,
kind," it's a bit
yes.
too fluffy, but actually, you know,
That's an
when-
authentic
it
value.
is. It's just
Yeah,
it's quite strong. Don't be a dick.
Yeah.
I changed it slightly because I was advised maybe you can't quite have that on your wall.
Don't be a muppet.
Yeah. Oh, but we can say leave your ego at the door. You know, leave your ego at the door. Don't be a dick.
Yeah, yeah,
And I like that. Ben Fan says that he employs a couple of thousand people, whatever it is. He said, "Listen, I won't be you. You don't. If you want to be employed by us," and I like that
yeah.
kind of straight
And
talking.
if I am a, then you tell me.
Yeah. And look, sometimes we're going to have a bit of that, but
Correct,
just
correct. Brilliant.
just
brilliant.
and I just think that's simple but effective.
Yes. Final question. What advice would you give to your 18-year-old self?
What would advice I get? I guess there'd be a couple of things, like, you know, trust your gut. You know, I've been bad over the years for kind of procrastinating over decisions. You know, I mean, maybe a bit of what do they say, paralysis by analysis. You know, and it maybe takes that bit longer. I mean, we were having some interesting discussions about property and things. You know, and going, if I'd maybe just made some decisions that were just feeling right back then. You know, I'm 42 now, and I was like, it wasn't that long ago I was 18, but it actually was. It was a long time ago. So I think if I was trusting my gut, I don't procrastinate over some of these things.
You see, I love the question. We said it before the interview. You know, what is the worst that could happen?
Yeah.
If you go for that or invest in this, what is the worst that could happen? And could you live with it? Yes, then go for it. Could you live with it? No, then don't do it.
But that's the golden answer there. Can you live with it? And I think that is, and I can sometimes get a bit stagnant because I've got this fear of failure, and everybody does. Yeah, and it's when your business, then, you know, everything is intertwined. Your business, you know, you go, I've got mortgage payments to make. I've got children I'm responsible for. Business has got to be successful. You know, so we can all do it. We put so much pressure on ourselves, and that fear of failure. But I mean, as much as I say, trust your, I think gut has got so much to be doing with it. But you can really do some quick fire sort of analysis if this is going to be. I mean, one of the biggest decisions I've made, it was when myself and the 3 other co-owners of this business centre were sitting in here. It was a 7-figure investment.
And you went for it.
And we went for it at quick fire. It was boom. It just...
It hit you.
Yes.
In property, I do the same. If I see a property and it hits me, I buy it. If it doesn't hit me,
no,
I move on.
Exactly. And to think, all the things we had to consider, the cost, the financial, but it was right. But we spreadsheeted it out.
You see the business model.
Yes.
And you understand it.
Yeah, and we still analysed it a bit over spreadsheets, but we didn't spread.
Correct.
And we just went, that all looks right.
Yeah.
We got it. I personally got some of the figures a bit wrong, that my other 2 co-owners, who are very good on the finance numbers, went, but I tell you what,
even so,
turned around, and it's now making a nice profit.
So that's the difference between investing and speculating.
Yes.
Speculating is you sit, pray, and hope.
Yeah, you're hoping for some good luck.
Investing is when you understand the mechanics of it.
And then you've got to then really trust yourself to go, listen, this is right.
Yeah.
This is going to work.
Yes.
And you know, and hard work.
Yeah.
A lot of hard work, but
yeah. Brilliant. Well, Andrew, thank you very much for sharing your experience with us and being so candid.
Great, thank you.
I look forward to
the
growth of the company in the next few years. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All the best.
Thank you.